This week on Case Studies with the Biz Doc, it's Quizizz, a company born in India but making an impact in the United States and beyond in the educational technology market. We've got the founding, the story, the founders, and where they're headed, and it's going big because they got money from Tiger. All of that this week. Quizizz is an ed tech company. Now, ed tech, there's enablers of educational technology, and then there's distance learning. This is not distance learning where you're managing classrooms and doing things like that. There's a variety of companies that does all that. This is educational technology providing tools where the classroom comes together because the student and the teacher can be interacting together in the classroom using the technology to facilitate tests and quizzes. Let's go look how this all started. It all started in India, near Bangalore, as Anik Gupta and Deepak Chinath back in 2015-16 had this idea to put this together and to help to have greater levels of engagement. What they envisioned was a tool that the teacher and the student could use together, and they envisioned some gamification. Now, why gamification? You've got so many hours a day that people are playing games, whether it's on your phone, a PlayStation, an Xbox, whatever it is. Gaming is a staple of the modern childhood and adulthood, but let's just stick with the kids for a second. It's a staple of childhood. And so to bring gamification into the classroom to help them learn maybe complex things around mathematics or physics or science or things like that seems like a brilliant way to trigger the mind of the children so that they get more out of the educational experience and keep their attention span. Well, all of that and more was behind their idea when they brought it together. And so they put together a little bit of their own venture funding. And again, it was a teacher and student online together. They gave them ability to assign homework through it and other things, and built gamification. What's interesting about this, let's go take a look at the money, because this is not like fintech and this is not like some of the social media things that have really giant valuations in a very short amount of time. I like this because they're, number one, solving a simple problem for a simple market, but they're doing it very well. But it kind of shows you where the valuation is in companies. And unfortunately, you would think this would be a unicorn, but it's not even 1/3 of the way there yet. And yet it's making such a dramatic impact on something that's so important for society. It kind of tells you that at times we have our valuations upside down, but it's not about the value to society. It's about the value in real dollars. And if people are willing to pay those kind of dollars for fintech companies and social media companies, that's where the money's going to be. Whereas education has what I believe to be a higher value for society, but that's beside the point. That was just a little Biz Doc commentary as I look at it right here. And I'm married to the Biz Doc babe, and she's a teacher working in this space. Hey, honey. So we have venture. They raised $3 million in what really was their Series A after they seeded this thing together back in 2018, August 2018. And then, wait, what's that? We haven't seen that in a long time. It's the Yahoo logo. Jerry Yang, founder of Yahoo, got involved and became an investor as well. So you can see in his long retirement away from Yahoo that he is actually getting involved in things that really matter, such as education. Then, from 2018 all the way down to the beginning of 2021, can that be right? Yep, that's right. That $3 million would last them here. Want to know why? They announced that they've been profitable since almost the beginning. In other words, charging a fee for a basic product and not having to wait till you get 20 million users so you can put ad buys against it. They made money on what's called a unitary basis. I sell something to you. You pay for it. I have my cost to produce it, to make it, whether that's a server or physical things like running a t-shirt company in Berlin, and I'm profitable at the end of that transaction. That's what they were. So it wouldn't be all the way till March of 2021 where they raised $12.5 million from 8 Roads, which is very famous. We all know about them. Big venture company out there in Asia. And then later, here comes Tiger. But what do we know about Tiger Global? They like to put big valuations on these and make big bets. Well, in this case, they only invested $31 million at a $300 million valuation. Wait a minute. What this means is that there is only $47 million has been raised, and there's a $300 million valuation here. You know what that means? And Biz Doc will take you through some mathematics another time, but that means that Anik and Deepak still own a hell of a lot of the business on a percentage basis, because at a $300 million valuation, putting in 31, that means that Tiger only has about 10 to 12% of the company for that. Pretty amazing. Now, there may be some other, it could be warrants or other things to leverage out the return ultimately, but on paper, that's what it looks like. Well, let's see. Now, how do you suddenly get Tiger to chase you down and give you $31 million after you raised 12 when you've been profitable since 2018 or before, and you had raised the $3 million yourself? How does that happen? Well, let's take a look at the triggers of valuation here on a quantitative basis, looking into users and the classroom. Well, first of all, we get to MAU, monthly users. Well, they were at 10 million users in 2018. That would grow to 50 million monthly users in June of 20 and 65 million users by December of 20. Oh, so something's happening here, because we're looking at Tiger saying, what's Tiger saying? Why suddenly make a $300 million valuation and put in 31 million to get what we guess is 10-12% of the company? Well, very interesting. So we have the active users. Then they also had announced that they had 50% of the United States schools. Remember, these guys are based in Bangalore, Maine, then got an office in Santa Monica, California that they have today. They would announce, let's follow the green numbers here, 65% U.S. school penetration in first quarter of 2021, and we're just past the halfway point of 2021 as we film this, and then 80% coming where we are today at the halfway point. That's pretty amazing. So 50%, 65, that means at least one teacher is using this in a classroom at 80% of schools in the United States. That is pretty significant. Well, they announced that they were getting 500 questions a month processed in 2020, and that for the year they processed almost 13 billion individual questions through their software. Wow, that's tremendous. Look at the learning that's going on there. And by halfway through 2021, when Tiger did this, they also said we have 20 million quizzes online, 300 million answers a week, and we're in 120 nations. And there's only one word for that, and it is damn! They earned their $300 million valuation because the traction came along and they drove it. And they have a wonderful business model based on subscriptions, which means they've got recurring revenue, which is very, very important to have, because that means that you're not just getting paid today, you have a customer that's committed to be with you in the future. Now, true, some of those customers cancel during the month, but when you get a subscription wave going, you really drive revenue. So let's take a look at some of the lessons for you and me, because this is a pretty straightforward company. First of all, simple is good and it will take you to great. Isn't that interesting? I think so. A simple idea to build quizzes together, not another distance education company, but enabling quizzes for the classroom to help those kids through gamification pay more attention and learn faster. That's pretty simple, using common sense about the modern student. Then know your points of traction. It's really interesting. They talk about the monthly active users, they talk about the number of questions, and they talk about the nations and schools. They are talking about the points of tractions that are going to make those investors take note, and also because those points of traction, when you think about subscription, also is making the revenue flywheel really pick up momentum. And then later, focus, focus, focus. They didn't go into distance education. They didn't go into a lot of other things. These guys have sat there focused on what they set out to do, and the metrics prove it. I think this is a really wonderful small company, smaller valuation, even though 300 million from Tiger is pretty damn good, but it just happened just now. But a smaller valuation company that you and I can kind of relate to when you take a look at how it was born and the focus that they had and what they put together. I love this company. That's what I think about Quizizz, but what do you think? It's a very cool educational technology company. You probably have some thoughts on it. Leave a comment down below. I answer as many as I can. And while you're there, subscribe to Valuetainment Economics, the best channel on the internet for entrepreneurial content, such as these case studies. And if you like this one, check out this case study from the Biz Doc archive. I think you'll like it as well. Until next time, I'm Ellsworth, the Biz Doc, and I hope I left you better than I found you.